I accidentally wished for a billionaire sugar daddy, and it came true. Okay, so you know those moments where life is so bad you just start joking about selling your soul? Yeah, I did that. Kinda. Except instead of my soul, I wished for a ridiculously rich, devastatingly hot sugar daddy to fix my life. Obviously, it was a joke, until it wasn't. The next morning, my rent was mysteriously paid, my failing grades, magically perfect, and oh yeah, the city's most powerful billionaire, the type you only see in Forbes and scandalous headlines, he swears we've been dating for months. Everyone believes it, even my best friend, even my professors, even the internet. But here's the thing, I've never met this man in my entire life. Is this a dream come true? Or a nightmare I can't wake up from? Silly story begins. Please like and subscribe before I figure out if I just scored the ultimate glow-up, or accidentally sold myself to a billionaire with very obsessive tendencies. Chapter 1. When life gives you magic coins. Run. I've always thought people who believed in magic were either desperate or delusional. Turns out, I'm both. My name is Sophie Carter, and I'm what you'd call a walking disaster with a law degree in progress. Well, attempting to progress, between drowning in student loans, and living off instant ramen in my shoebox apartment in downtown Manhattan, I'm barely keeping my head above water at Columbia Law. Sophie, you cannot keep avoiding Mr. Harrison's calls, my roommate Maya said, waving her phone at me like a disappointed mother. He's threatening to change our locks again. Maya Rodriguez, my best friend, and self-proclaimed witch, yes really, was sprawled across our threadbare couch, surrounded by her latest magical artifacts from various thrift stores. Today's collection included 3 broken pocket watches, and what looked suspiciously like a bedazzled bottle opener. I'll pay him when my student loan comes through, I muttered, trying to memorize tort law through osmosis by fast-planting into my textbook. Or when hell freezes over, whichever comes first. You said that 2 months ago, Maya reminded me, now attempting to balance one of her crystals on her forehead. And last time I checked, Satan was still enjoying a toasty climate. I lifted my head just enough to glare at her. Shouldn't you be using your magical powers to conjure up our rent money, instead of playing crystal Jenga? The universe doesn't work that way, Sophie. Maya sat up, suddenly serious. Magic requires intention, alignment, and if you say Mercury in retrograde one more time, I'm selling your tarot cards on eBay. That's when my phone buzzed with an email from Professor Reynolds, the human equivalent of a migraine who taught advanced constitutional law. My heart sank as I read, Miss Carter, your performance in today's mock trial was, quite frankly, embarrassing. Perhaps law school isn't the right path for someone of your capabilities. My office hours are 3 to 4 p.m. if you'd like to discuss alternative career options. Regards, Professor R. Reynolds. I need coffee, I announced, grabbing my jacket. Or a new life. Preferably both. It's midnight, Maya pointed out. The law student's witching hour, I replied, already heading for the door. Don't wait up. The streets of Manhattan were oddly quiet as I trudged toward the 24-hour coffee shop near campus. My mind was racing with all the ways my life had become a spectacular train wreck. Failed mock trial? Check. Impending eviction? Double check. Crushing student debt? Triple check with a cherry of despair on top. That's when I tripped. Now, I'm naturally clumsy, but this time it wasn't my fault. Something metallic caught my foot, sending me sprawling onto the sidewalk. As I pushed myself up, cursing whatever deity had it out for me, I saw it, a coin, about the size of a silver dollar, gleaming with an unnatural golden light. Great, I muttered, picking it up. Even the trash is mocking me now. The coin felt warm in my palm, pulsing like it had its own heartbeat. Maybe Maya's mystical nonsense was finally getting to me, or maybe sleep deprivation had driven me completely insane. But I found myself saying, I wish some obscenely wealthy, ridiculously attractive man would sweep in and fix my mess of a life. The coin grew hot, burning hot, and I dropped it with a yelp. It hit the sidewalk with a musical chime that seemed to echo far longer than it should have. By the time I blinked, the coin had vanished. That's it, I declared to no one in particular. No more instant ramen before midnight. It's clearly causing hallucinations. I gave up on coffee and headed home, convinced I'd just experienced some sort of stress-induced breakdown. Nothing a good night's sleep couldn't fix, right? Wrong. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. Mr. Harrison landlord, Miss Carter, thank you for the advance payment on your rent for the next 6 months. Your dedication as a tenant is appreciated. Professor Reynolds, outstanding analysis in your latest brief, Miss Carter. I'd like to recommend you for a prestigious clerkship. Bank alert, deposit of $250,000 received from Black Crown Industries. And then, the cherry on top of the surreal sundae, a text from an unknown number, "Good morning, kitten. Cars waiting downstairs. Don't keep me waiting too long." I looked at Maya, who was already awake and staring at me with her mouth open, her morning coffee forgotten. "Sophie," she said slowly, "why is there a Rolls-Royce parked outside our building? And why is everyone on social media talking about you dating Alexander Prince?" "Who's Alexander Prince?" Maya's eyes widened to the size of dinner plates. "Only the youngest CEO in New York's history? The guy who turned Black Crown Industries into a tech empire? The man Forbes called the Prince of Wall Street?" She shoved her phone in my face, showing me a photo of possibly the most gorgeous human being I'd ever seen. "This Alexander Prince." I stared at the photo, then at my phone, then back at Maya. "Maya," I said faintly, "I think I might have accidentally sold my soul last night." "Oh honey," she replied, looking both thrilled and terrified, "I think you did something much worse. You made a wish. And that's how I, Sophie Carter, disaster law student extraordinaire, discovered that magic coins, billionaires, and wishes don't mix at all. Too bad I didn't know it was only the beginning of my problems." Chapter 2, From Ramen to Riches. Send help. Here's the thing about suddenly acquiring a billionaire boyfriend: nobody gives you an instruction manual. "Trust me?" I checked. "Miss Carter?" A woman in a crisp black suit was standing in my living room, looking thoroughly unimpressed by the mountain of law books and Maya's crystal collection. "I'm Helen Park, Mr. Prince's personal assistant. We need to get you ready for the charity gala tonight." I blinked at her. "The what now?" "The annual Black Crown Foundation Gala," she replied, consulting her tablet. "You confirmed your attendance 2 weeks ago." "I most certainly did." And I caught myself, remembering the magic coin situation. "Right, that gala." Maya, who hadn't stopped grinning since Helen arrived, piped up from her corner. "She's just being modest. Sophie's been so excited about it, haven't you, Soph?" I shot her a look that promised revenge, preferably involving her precious crystals and the nearest window. Helen cleared her throat. "The glam team is waiting downstairs. We have exactly 4 hours to prepare you for your first public appearance as Mr. Prince's partner." 4 hours? I laughed nervously. "To turn this," I gestured at my coffee-stained Columbia Law sweatshirt and messy bun, "into something gala-worthy? You might need an actual miracle worker." Helen's perfectly manicured finger swiped across her tablet. "Mr. Prince specifically requested we keep your natural charm intact." His words were, "Don't let them turn her into another society clone." I felt my face heat up. Mr. Prince, Alexander, had opinions about my charm? The same charm that had me tripping over thin air and stress-eating ramen at 3 a.m. The next few hours were a blur of designer dresses, makeup artists, speaking rapid-fire French, and Helen firing instructions, like a general commanding troops. Somewhere between the 4th dress and what felt like my 100th hair adjustment, I got my first text from him. "Looking forward to seeing you, kitten. Wear the green dress, the green one." I turned to Helen, who was already holding up an emerald silk gown that probably cost more than my entire law school tuition. "How did he? Mr. Prince has excellent intuition," Helen said with what might have been a smile. "And he's been watching you choose dresses through the boutique security feed." "He's been what?" Before I could properly process this borderline stalkerish behavior, I was being ushered into a limousine. Maya managed to snap about 50 photos, yelling, "That's my best friend. You better believe it," to anyone within earshot. The drive to the gala gave me time to panic properly. What if I used the wrong fork? What if I accidentally insulted some foreign diplomat? What if? The car door opened, and there he was. Alexander Prince was even more devastating in person than in photos. Tall, with sharp cheekbones that could probably cut glass, and intense dark eyes that locked onto mine immediately. He wore a black tuxedo like he was born in it, and when he smiled, oh boy. "Hello, kitten," he said, offering his hand. "Ready to scandalize New York's elite?" I took his hand, trying to ignore the electricity that shot through me at his touch. "Do I have a choice?" "Always." His voice dropped lower. "Just for me. But where's the fun in playing it safe?" That's when I noticed the cameras, dozens of them, all focused on us. Tomorrow's headlines were practically writing themselves. "Just follow my lead," Alexander murmured, his hand warm against my lower back as he guided me toward the entrance. "And try not to look too horrified when I do this." Before I could ask what this was, he turned to the press and announced in a carrying voice, "I suppose the secret's out? Everyone, meet the woman who's had me wrapped around her finger for months." The reporters went wild. I plastered on what I hoped was a sophisticated smile and not a grimace. "Mr. Prince, how did you meet? Miss Carter, what attracted you to Alexander? Is it true you're already living together?" Alexander fielded questions with practiced ease while I tried not to hyperventilate. Until, Alex, darling, there you are. A stunning redhead in a skin-tight white dress was sashaying toward us, her smile sharp as a knife. And this must be your latest distraction. Victoria, Alexander's voice had turned to ice. I wasn't aware you were invited. Victoria Stone, I recognized her now from the society pages Maya had shown me, ran a perfectly manicured finger down Alexander's arm. Oh darling, I'm always invited, you know that. She turned to me, eyes glittering. So tell me, dear, how much is he paying you? I'm just dying to know the going rate these days. The entire entrance hall went silent. I felt Alexander tense beside me, but before he could speak, something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the stress, maybe it was the magic coin mess, or maybe I was just done being pushed around. Actually, I said, matching her saccharine tone, he pays me in cognitive dissonance and second-hand embarrassment. You know, watching people like you throw themselves at him while pretending to have an ounce of dignity, it's better than Netflix. Victoria's face went from pale to red faster than a traffic light. Alexander's shoulders shook with what I suspected was suppressed laughter. How dare you? Victoria started, raising her hand. I caught her wrist before she could slap me. 3 years of mandatory self-defense classes. Thanks, Mom finally paid off. Law student, remember? I smiled sweetly. I can list exactly 14 ways this could turn into a lawsuit. Want to try for 15? Victoria jerked her hand away and stormed off, leaving behind only the lingering scent of expensive perfume and wounded pride. Alexander leaned down to whisper in my ear. That was incredibly hot. I tried to ignore the shiver that ran down my spine. Yes, well, don't get used to it. I'm still trying to figure out how to undo whatever cosmic mess that coin got me into. His expression changed for a fraction of a second, something dark and almost hungry flashing in his eyes. The coin, kitten. What coin would that be? Before I could answer, Helen appeared at our side. Mr. Prince, the governor is waiting to speak with you. And Miss Carter? There's someone here you should meet. I followed her gaze to see a distinguished-looking man watching us from across the room. He held what looked suspiciously like a familiar golden coin, and his smile made my blood run cold. Whoa, no, I whispered. Oh, yes, the man mouthed back. This night was about to get a lot more interesting. Chapter 3. When wishes fight back. Ever had one of those moments where you wish you could text your past self? Mine would read, Dear Sophie from yesterday, leave the shiny coin alone, you idiot. P.S. Buy a lottery ticket instead. The mysterious man with the coin was heading straight for me, weaving through New York's elite like a shark through water. Alexander had been whisked away by Helen to handle some urgent business matter, leaving me to fend for myself in the sea of Cartier and caviar. Miss Carter, the man said, his accent crisp and British. Or do you prefer Sophie? I'm Sebastian Vale, and we have quite a lot to discuss. He looked like what would happen if you mixed a college professor with James Bond. Silver-streaked dark hair, wire-rimmed glasses, and a bespoke suit that probably cost more than my student loans. Let me guess, I said, grabbing a champagne flute from a passing waiter. You're here about the coin that's ruining my life? Sebastian's eyes crinkled with amusement. Ruining? Is that what you call dating one of the most eligible bachelors in New York? I call it a cosmic practical joke. I took a large sip of champagne, one that I'd very much like to undo. Ah. Sebastian pulled out the golden coin I'd seen earlier, rolling it between his fingers. That might be complicated. Complicated how? The coins of destiny. Please tell me that's not their real name. Don't simply grant wishes, he continued, ignoring my interruption. They reveal truth, hidden desires, inevitable fates. I choked on my champagne. Inevitable what now? Your wish didn't create Alexander's interest in you, Sophie. It merely. Sebastian paused, searching for the right words, accelerated a timeline that was already in motion. That's ridiculous. Before yesterday, Alexander Prince didn't even know I existed. Sebastian's smile was uncomfortably knowing. Are you sure about that? Before I could demand what he meant, a familiar voice cut through our conversation. Sebastian. Alexander appeared at my side, his hand possessively settling on my waist. I wasn't expecting to see you here, Alexander. Sebastian nodded, that enigmatic smile still in place. I was just having a fascinating chat with your girlfriend? Fiancé, actually, Alexander said smoothly. I sprayed champagne across a nearby ice sculpture. We're what? I wheezed. Darling, don't you remember? Alexander's eyes held a warning as he handed me his pocket square. I proposed last week. You were so surprised you dropped your coffee all over Professor Reynolds. That, actually had happened. Last Tuesday, I'd spectacularly spilled my entire venti latte on Reynolds' desk. But Alexander hadn't been there. Had he? Fascinating indeed, Sebastian murmured, studying us both. The coins work in mysterious ways, don't they, Alexander? Alexander's grip on my waist tightened. I don't know what you're talking about. No? Sebastian held up his coin. Then perhaps Miss Carter would be interested to know about your own wish. The one you made 5 years ago when? That's enough. Alexander's voice could have frozen hell itself. My head was spinning. And not just from the champagne. Wait, you made a wish too? Sophie. Alexander turned to me, his expression intense. Don't listen to him. Sebastian has a tendency to complicate things. Whoa, I think things are plenty complicated already, I said, stepping out of his grip. Like how you apparently knew who I was before the coin. Or why you're telling people we're engaged. Or why my bank account suddenly has more zeros than my grade point average. I can explain everything. Then start explaining. That's when Victoria Stone's voice rang out across the ballroom. Oh my God, he's dead. The crowd parted to reveal a man face down on the marble floor. Next to him lay a familiar golden coin. Sebastian cursed under his breath. That's not supposed to happen. What's not supposed to happen? I demanded. The coins, he said grimly, aren't supposed to kill people. Alexander grabbed my arm. We need to leave. Now. But, now, Sophie. His voice left no room for argument. Unless you want to explain to the NYPD why your fingerprints are all over a magical coin found at a murder scene. He had a point. As Alexander hustled me toward a private exit, I caught Sebastian's eye. He mouthed something that looked suspiciously like ask him about London. In the car, breaking every traffic law known to man as we sped away from the gala. I turned to Alexander. What happened in London? His hands tightened on the steering wheel. Sophie, no more deflecting. No more mysterious half-answers. What did you wish for 5 years ago? Alexander was quiet for so long, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I wish to find you again. Again. My voice came out embarrassingly squeaky. What do you mean again? He took a sharp turn, cutting off a taxi. It's a long story. Good thing I'm apparently your fiancé. I've got time. Alexander's laugh was without humor. You might want to save the sarcasm for after you hear about the curse. The what now? The curse, he repeated. The reason I had to find you. The reason those coins exist. And the reason someone just died trying to break it. Great. Because my life wasn't complicated enough already. Let me guess, I said, slumping in my seat. This is going to require more champagne? More like tequila, Alexander muttered, then louder. How much do you know about reincarnation? Oh boy. Chapter 4. Past lives and present lives. If someone had told me a week ago that I'd be sitting in a penthouse at midnight, drinking $1,000 tequila, while discussing reincarnation with New York's most eligible bachelor, I would have recommended a good psychiatrist. Yet here we were. So let me get this straight, I said, nursing my third shot. We were lovers in Victorian London. Alexander paced his obscenely luxurious living room, the city lights twinkling behind him through floor-to-ceiling windows. Not just Victorian London. Ancient Rome, Renaissance Florence, 1920s Paris. Right. I downed the rest of my drink. And in each life, something tragic happens and we die dramatically. You die, he corrected quietly. I watch it happen. Every single time. Well, that got dark fast. And you remember all of this because? The curse. Alexander finally sat down beside me, running a hand through his perfectly disheveled hair. In 1866, I made a deal with the wrong person. A woman who called herself the Coin Keeper. Please tell me that's not her real name either. He almost smiled. She offered me immortality, the chance to find true love across lifetimes. What she didn't mention was the catch. There's always a catch, I muttered. I would find you in every life, but I would also lose you in every life. Usually around your 25th birthday. I did some quick math. I turned 25 in 3 months. Alexander finished. Hence the urgency. So what, you've just been stalking me, waiting to make your move. Protecting you, he corrected. The scholarship committee that mysteriously decided to fund your law school? Me. The random apartment inspection that caught the gas leak in your first place? Also me. Even that self-defense class your mother insisted on. Oh my God. I stood up, wobbling slightly. You manipulated my entire life. I tried to keep you safe. He rose too, towering over me. Do you know how many times I've watched you die? How many times I've held you while you bled out? Or burned, or stop. I pressed my hands to my temples. This is insane. I'm not your star-crossed lover. I'm just a broke law student who picked up the wrong coin. The coins don't make mistakes, Sophie. They reveal truth. Deep down, you know that. What I know is that in the past 24 hours, my entire life has turned into a supernatural soap opera, complete with murder, As if on cue, my phone buzzed. A news alert from Maya. Breaking, Victor Lang, CEO of Lang Industries, found dead at Black Crown Gala. Witnesses report strange golden object at scene. Victor Lang? I showed Alexander the screen. As in your biggest business rival? Alexander's expression darkened. He wasn't just my rival. In 1866, he was the coin keeper's son. Let me guess, he's immortal too. And he's been trying to break the curse for centuries. Alexander took my phone? Scrolling through the article. By killing you before I can save you. Okay, that's it. I grabbed my bag. I'm going home. To my normal apartment, with my normal roommate, to live my completely normal. The elevator dinged. Helen burst in, looking uncharacteristically disheveled. Sir, we have a problem. Behind her came Sebastian Vale, supporting a bleeding Maya. Sophie, Maya gasped, clutching her side. Your ex-landlord just tried to kill me. With a golden coin. Also, I might have set him on fire with one of my crystals. Turns out they're not just pretty rocks. I turned to Alexander. You were saying something about protecting me? He had the grace to look sheepish. I might have been focusing on the wrong apartment. You think? Sebastian laid Maya on the couch. The curse is accelerating. Victor's death has destabilized the coin magic. Which means? I asked, though I had a feeling I wouldn't like the answer. Which means, Helen said grimly, everyone who's ever made a wish on a coin is about to have their deepest desires twisted against them. And since half of New York's elite has apparently found these coins over the centuries, it's going to be chaos. Alexander finished. I looked around the room. My best friend bleeding from a magical coin attack. A British guy who knew too much. An assistant who was clearly more than just an assistant. And my supposed eternal soulmate. Right, I said, rolling up my sleeves. First, Maya needs a doctor. Then, someone's going to tell me exactly how to break this curse. And finally, I turned to Alexander. You're going to explain why you didn't just, oh, I don't know, tell me any of this from the start. Would you have believed me? No. But I might have appreciated the heads up before agreeing to be your fake but apparently real fiancé. A crash from below interrupted our argument. Screams echoed up from the street. We all rushed to the windows. Down below, golden coins were falling from the sky like metallic rain. And every person who touched one. Whoa, no, Sebastian whispered. Oh yes, said a female voice behind us. We spun around to find Victoria Stone standing in the doorway. But she didn't look like herself anymore. Her red hair floated around her head like flames. And her eyes glowed with an unnatural golden light. Hello Alexander, she purred. Or should I call you Lord Blackwood? Like I did in 1866. Mother sends her regards. Well shit, this was definitely going to require more tequila. Chapter 5. When Wishes Go Wild. Pro tip. If you ever find yourself cornered by an immortal psychopath while magical coins rain from the sky, don't waste time asking questions. Just run. Unfortunately, I've never been good at taking my own advice. Mother sends her regards? I repeated, looking between Victoria and Alexander. Please tell me this isn't some weird immortal family drama. Victoria's laughter echoed unnaturally. Oh, it's so much more than that. Alexander didn't tell you the best part, did he? About how he was supposed to marry me before he met you. I was never going to marry you, Victoria. Alexander growled, subtly pushing me behind him. Your mother's arrangement was with my father, not me. And yet here we are, centuries later, still playing the same game. Victoria's fiery hair writhed like living flames. How many times have you watched her die? Alexander. Let's make this one special. Maya groaned from the couch. Sophie, remember that weird protection spell I tried to teach you last month? The one I said was complete nonsense? Yeah. Now would be a really good time to try it. Before I could remind Maya that I didn't believe in magic, despite all evidence to the contrary, Victoria raised her hand. A dozen golden coins materialized in the air around her. Catch, she smirked, and the coins shot toward us like bullets. Several things happened at once. Alexander dove to shield me. Sebastian shouted something in what sounded like Latin. Helen pulled a very non-assistant-like sword from her pencil skirt. And I panicked and yelled the first thing that came to mind. Protego Maxima. Look, I read a lot of Harry Potter as a kid, okay? But here's the weird part, it worked. Sort of. A shimmering blue barrier appeared between us and Victoria's coins, which clattered harmlessly to the floor. Everyone stared at me. That's not the protection spell I taught you, Maya said weakly. Miss Carter, Sebastian adjusted his glasses, looking impressed. It seems you have some explaining to do as well. Victoria's beautiful face contorted with rage. Impossible. You're just a law student, a nobody. You can't have powers. Excuse you. I shot back, running on adrenaline and tequila courage. I'm a nobody who got into Columbia Law. Do you know how hard that is? Sophie, Alexander hissed. Maybe don't antagonize the immortal witch. Actually, Helen interrupted, her sword glowing with strange symbols. Keep antagonizing her. She's weakest when she's angry. Oh really? I grinned. Hey Victoria, your shoes are last season, and your highlights look like they were done at Supercuts. Victoria screamed, the sound shattering every window in the penthouse. Wind whipped through the room, sending papers and Maya's crystals flying. You want to know what really happened in 1866? Victoria's voice echoed with otherworldly power. Your precious Alexander didn't just make a deal with my mother. He stole her most powerful coin, the one that could break all curses, and when she tried to stop him, he killed her. I turned to Alexander. Did you? His face was grim. Yes, because she was going to kill you. All versions of you. In every timeline. She wanted to ensure her daughter would be my only choice. Okay, that's actually kind of romantic. In a horrifically violent way. The coin, Alexander? Victoria demanded. Give it to me. And I'll make her death quick this time. About that, Sebastian cut in smoothly. I'm afraid the coin's not here anymore. In fact, he glanced at his watch. It should be arriving at its new location right about now. Victoria's eyes widened. What did you do? A massive explosion rocked the building. Through the broken windows, we could see a column of golden light shooting up from somewhere in Central Park. That would be your mother's coin activating, Sebastian explained. Combined with about 200 years worth of collected wishes. Did you really think Alexander kept all those coins he gathered just lying around? You're going to destroy the whole city. Victoria stumbled back. No, Helen stepped forward, sword ready. We're going to break the curse. All of them. Including yours, Victoria? I raised my hand. Quick question. What happens to all the people who picked up coins during Victoria's little rain shower? As if in answer, screams erupted from the street below. We rushed to the windows to see chaos unfolding. A hot dog vendor was now selling solid gold hot dogs to a crowd of suddenly wealthy customers. A teenager's wish for popularity had everyone following her like zombies. A taxi driver's cab had turned into a Ferrari, but it still had the taxi meter, and in the middle of it all, my former landlord Mr. Harrison was growing to Godzilla-like proportions, bellowing about late rent payments. Okay, I said, watching him swat at a police helicopter. That seems bad. Alexander took my hand. Sophie, there's something else you need to know. Breaking the curse, it might erase everything. All our past lives, all our memories. We might forget each other completely. I looked at our joined hands, then at the chaos below, then at Victoria's trembling form. Will it stop me from dying in 3 months? Yes. Will it save all those people down there? Yes. Will I still remember that you're a stalker who manipulated my entire life? He winced. Probably not, I sighed. Well, that's something at least. Then I turned to Sebastian. What do we need to do? True love's kiss. Maya called from the couch. We all stared at her. What? It works in fairy tales. Sebastian cleared his throat. Actually, she's not entirely wrong. But it's not just any kiss. You have to choose to forget each other. Voluntarily give up all the past lives, all the memories, for the sake of breaking the curse. That's it? I asked skeptically. That's it, Victoria laughed bitterly. Simple, isn't it? Except Alexander's never been able to do it. He'd rather watch you die 1,000 times than risk losing you completely. I looked at Alexander. In his eyes, I saw centuries of love, loss, and pain. Sophie, he whispered. I can't. I grabbed his stupidly expensive tie and pulled him down to my level. Alexander? Yes? Shut up, and kiss me goodbye. And as his lips met mine, as Victoria screamed, and the golden light from Central Park reached toward the sky, as Maya cheered and Sebastian muttered incantations, I had one last thought. Please let me meet him again. Then everything went white, and somewhere in the universe, a coin stopped spinning. Epilogue, be careful what you wish for, or don't. 3 months later, and that's why the hot dog vendor on 5th Avenue still occasionally serves gold-plated hot dogs, Maya finished, sipping her coffee with a satisfied smile. I rolled my eyes, adjusting my graduation cap. Maya, I've told you 1,000 times, I don't remember any of that magical coin nonsense. I had the flu, missed a week of classes, and somehow still graduated in the top 10%. End of story. We were sitting in our favorite coffee shop near Columbia Law, celebrating my early graduation. Apparently, I'd completed enough credits to graduate a semester early, though I had no memory of doing so. Right, Maya drawled. And I suppose you also don't remember why half of Manhattan had mass amnesia that week? Or why Victoria Stone suddenly moved to Tibet to become a monk? The news said it was a gas leak. A gas leak that made your ex-landlord think he was Godzilla? Mr. Harrison had a psychotic break after winning the lottery. It happens. Maya muttered something that sounded suspiciously like stubborn under her breath, then straightened suddenly, eyes wide. Oh my God. What? Don't look now. But Alexander Prince just walked in. Of course I immediately looked. He was even more gorgeous than his magazine cover suggested, in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my student loans. Our eyes met across the coffee shop, and something flickered, like deja vu, but stronger. Do I know him? I murmured. Maya kicked me under the table. Only in every past life ever. Maya, for the last time, he's coming over. I barely had time to check my reflection in my phone before he was standing at our table, looking at me with an intensity that made my heart skip. Excuse me, he said, his voice sending inexplicable shivers down my spine. But have we met before? No. I said at the exact moment Maya said yes. He smiled. And something about it felt achingly familiar. I could have sworn, he trailed off, then seemed to shake himself. I'm Alexander Prince. Sophie Carter, I replied, trying to ignore how right it felt to say my name to him. And this is my delusional best friend Maya, who believes in magic coins and past lives. Interesting. He sat down uninvited, looking perfectly at home. I've been having the strangest dreams lately, about golden coins falling like rain, and a woman in Victorian dress who keeps telling me to remember. Maya practically vibrated with excitement. That's ridiculous, I said firmly, even as my heart raced. Next you'll tell me you've been secretly watching over me my whole life. Alexander's coffee cup froze halfway to his lips. How did you? A glint of gold caught my eye. There on the floor between us lay a familiar-looking coin. Maya gasped. Sebastian Vale, who had definitely not been sitting at the next table a moment ago, sighed heavily. Here we go again, he muttered, pulling out his phone. Helen? Yes, it's happening again. Alert the others. I reached for the coin at the same time as Alexander. Our fingers touched. And suddenly, I remembered everything. Oh, I said softly. Whoa, he echoed, eyes wide with recognition. Maya squealed. I knew it. I looked at the coin, then at Alexander, then at the absolutely insufferable grin on Maya's face. So, I said, picking up the coin, want to try this again? Preferably with less dying and more honest communication this time. Alexander's smile was exactly as I remembered it. Only if you promise not to use Harry Potter spells in actual magical emergencies. Hey, it worked. Barely. You know, I twirled the coin between my fingers. I technically still have one wish left. And what would you wish for? He asked, leaning closer. I smiled. How about we find out together? No curses, no destiny, no stalking. Just us. Just us, he agreed. Although, what? You might want to wish for your student loans to disappear first. I laughed and flipped the coin. This time, when it landed, neither of us bothered to check which side was up. We were too busy creating our own luck. The end, until some other magical artifact inevitably shows up to ruin my life again. But that's a story for another day.